Hello, Nerd Cittery.
The fuck was that?
I don't know. Hello, this is Shane, and this is
James.
and we are the Nerd Cittery podcast.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
right. That's what we are.
I got tongue tied for some reason. I'm not even drinking this time
I
either.
know.
This is-
You sound like it.
I
It's kind
know.
of weird.
So this is about our top. Was it five?
Top five.
Top five horror movies,
Wait,
slasher movies, or
horror
whatever.
in quotation
Yeah,
marks.
horror. Because it's spooky season.
It is spooky season. It's Halloween.
Halloween, yes.
So, am I going first? You want to go first? Or you wanna do this?
Guess I can go first.
All right, go ahead.
The 2018 Halloween movie.
Oh, we're jumping to modern.
Yeah. You didn't say I couldn't.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But no, it's just like the fact that I like how it had, you could tell it was a continuation from the original film,
Yeah.
and it's not like,
That's not the remake. That's the one that.
yeah, well, this is considered like a remake, but it's not, if that makes sense. Like, it's supposed to...
It's all the original characters. But
Yeah, it's-
modern day though.
But it's basically the other movies never happened.
Oh,
Like
Interesting.
2, H2O, all that never happened.
well, isn't 2 kind of the one that people don't really talk about too much?
Well, 2 is the one that everybody assumes, like, that's where they get the whole Laurie is Michael's sister kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Which this tells you is like that.
Or is it
never-
the third one? What's the one that didn't even have?
The third one is the Season of the Witch. That's the
That's-
one that nobody counts as
Yeah, because
Halloween.
Michael Myers isn't even in that one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But no, this is like the one where it was like, oh, isn't your mom or isn't your grandmother like the brothers with Michael Myers? Like, no, that's just some story that people made up, kind of thing. And you can actually see like in his mask, you see the hole where she stabbed the clothes hanger into his neck and stuff like that.
Oh,
And it's just like a direct continuation. Like somehow they caught him and they put him in back in the psych ward. It never really explains how that happened,
yeah.
because at the end Loomis, shoots him and he's like gone off the ground. But I don't know. I just like how they went back to being like super dark, super gritty for Halloween and stuff like that.
For me, this is why I said horror in quotation marks. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard for me to put this together. I'm not as big of a horror fanatic as say Shane is over here.
My tattoos.
Yeah, but a movie that I tried watching years ago and for some reason could not get into it. I tried it again last year and fucking loved it, which was Jacob's Ladder.
I've heard about it. I've never really watched it though.
So Jacob's Ladder, you're gonna be like, oh, that's why you're picking it. Silent Hill was very inspired by Jacob's Ladder. A lot of the visuals and all that kind of stuff you'll see remind you a lot of Silent Hill. But I don't know, like, man, the first time I watched it, I was like, what the hell am I watching? Like, I could not get into it. And it was just a movie that showed up for free on something. I can't remember what it was. And I was like, I'll give it another shot. And dude, I fucking loved it. Because it is again, it's a psychological horror. And you don't really know, like, what's really going on, what's real and what's not. Like, you don't know everything that happened. Your questions weren't answered. And I love that because it, really can bring up a lot of conversation. That's what, like, a lot of Silent Hill did on the internet. Like, people were like, all these crazy theories and all this kind of stuff. And that's another movie that's very much like that. But
I know some other movies does that too.
yeah, and it's so cool because, I mean, like, everybody wants to feel fulfilled, I guess, at the end of a movie. But just sometimes it's just better to keep people asking questions. And that one was kind of weird, man. But yeah, I do recommend checking it out. It was a one hell of a ride. We'll just say that. And there's, again, horror in quotation marks. There's a couple of weird things happening. So.
Gotcha. I'm not sure a lot of people have actually seen, but there's one called You're Next. It's really, really good.
That sounds familiar.
It's about this this girl and this guy who are going to meet up with this family. They're doing like a family reunion get together in the woods at this house. And basically, without spoiling a lot of it, because just in case you want to watch it or the viewers want to watch it, basically a whole bunch of people in animal masks start attacking the family and killing them one off.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's a dark comedy too. A lot of people don't know it. But it's just basically say if Saw and Home Alone kind of met with a serial, like with The Strangers, it's kind of something like that.
Okay. Well, it's funny because the whole theory that Kevin McAllister ended up growing up to be the
Jigsaw.
Saw. Yeah. Such an interesting fan theory there.
But the Saw kind of aspect, it's not really Saw, it's more like Home Alone, I should say. But it's more, it's not the killers doing the traps, which is a different
Okay.
kind of thing.
Interesting.
So very Home Alone-esque on that part. That's what I should say.
A lot of movies I need to catch up on. Again, horror in quotation marks. I gotta talk about it. I gotta watch it every year. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Understandable.
No, this was a movie that I remember. Like, I used to see it all the time on like Hollywood Video, and I don't know. I just always remember picking it up. I'm not gonna watch this. I put it back down or whatever. I think one day it was on like Xfinity free movies or something, and I started watching it. And I was like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever watched," but I fucking love it. But you know, it's funny because like this is again what I love about these like movies during that time is some of the digital effects aren't the best, but like the costumes are still really cool to this
practical
day.
effects. Though,
Yeah,
it was really cool.
yeah, the costumes. Some of the costumes were reused in other movies. I can't remember what, but it's pretty clear as day when you see it. But it's so over the top and just so ridiculous, and I don't know. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do.
This one is gonna get me probably killed. No, I'm just playing.
Oh boy.
House of the Dead. No, I'm just playing. No, I'm just playing. No, not House of the Dead. Day of the Dead, the 1980s movie by George Romero. That movie got me sick when I was a child.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, which I know I've mentioned about it before a few times. I think I mentioned the part that was the most disgusting was one of the characters getting ripped in half and he was yelling like choke on them and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Side note though to that scene, I found out in the making of, they accidentally unplugged a refrigerator that kept those actual entrails in.
Ooh.
So they quickly used it, and then like everybody had to gasp for air like after that scene because they were using real pig intestines.
Oh man.
And they had, and the refrigerator was unplugged for like 2 or 3 days.
That's kind of like the story of Willy Wonka. The actual river was chocolate, and after a few days, it went bad. And
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
It's like it's just mold and
Yeah.
flies everywhere.
I can only hope that was like after the kid fell into the
I'm sure
chocolate.
that was during the scene.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, it's just no.
Speaking of horror movies, Willy Wonka.
But no, it's just no. It's so good. It's probably one of the darker of the original 3 Romero films. It terrified me as a child, and it also made me have a love for zombies, like Resident Evil. So I don't know. It's just one of my all-time favorites that I like to watch.
For me, it's already been kind of mentioned, I guess, already, but the first Saw. I remember this was a movie that so there's a big issue I have when it comes to movies or video games. Anytime someone's like, "Oh my god, it's the greatest thing in the world," you already fucked it up for me. Because now my expectations are so damn high. I remember a lot of people talking about this movie, and I finally broke down and watched it.
Didn't it? It came out when we were still in high school.
Correct?
Yeah.
I think the wife and I
Senior
watched
year?
it. Yeah, I would say so, because the wife and I were definitely dating at the time. And both of us had the exact same reaction at the very end of the movie. You know, the fact, I grew up, I loved Robin Hood Men in Tights, so the fact that Carrie Elways was in it.
Well,
And,
I mean, that's one of those movies that piss you off, too, because, like, oh, the key was right there this whole entire time.
oh yeah, dude, yeah. That's what's crazy about it. But it's also because it was kind of very low budget. I mean, like, most of the movie takes place in this small little room. And, man, that's one I need to go back and watch. But I will admit, I've never seen the other ones. I didn't really have an interest to see them.
I honestly say the ending, I mean, they tie them all together to
Yeah, I
the first
know.
one somehow or another. But to me, in that whole series, it should have ended with the third one.
Yeah, I can
That's
see that.
just my opinion. Because
Well, my annoyance was like every year it was like Saw whatever, and I'm like, good
Yeah.
God, every fucking year. How are they making a new movie every fucking year?
Yeah. I remember one of the last ones, not the one that came out like last year or whatever, but it was like the final Saw. That was the one with Chester in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in it.
Oh, I didn't know
He
that.
was in one of the traps. I think he played like some member of a gang or something like that, and he was in trouble, and like, yeah, I think he had to rip his skin off or
Oof.
something like that. Yeah, because sometimes I would just watch just the traps to see what traps that they had in the other movies and stuff like that, and I was like, Chester's in this?
Huh. I did not know that.
Yeah. Let's see. I want to say maybe Final Nightmare.
Final Nightmare.
Or no, not Final Nightmare. New Nightmare. Sorry.
New Nightmare.
New Nightmare. It's technically the last Freddy movie before Freddy
Oh.
vs. Jason
Okay.
came out.
Oh, Freddy versus Jason. I forgot about that one.
But no, New Nightmare is so good because it's like it's in a parallel universe where everybody, they all know their actors in this one. Like the girl who plays Nancy,
okay.
Robert Englund plays himself as Robert Englund.
Oh, yeah. I
And-
haven't seen it. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's got the kid from Pet Sematary in it as well, who gets ran over by the truck in the original Pet Sematary.
Dude, Pet Sematary was almost on my list.
But no, I just liked it. It was completely different. Like, she was literally having nightmares about the character from the movie that she was playing in.
Oh.
And he eventually shows up, but she literally talks to Wes Craven. She talks to Robert Englund. It's like, hey, I'm having these really bad dreams, and apparently at the same time, Wes Craven is writing that as the script for the new movie that they're working on.
Oh.
And it's so cool because it's just like parallel universes in general that just tie in together. But I like the fact that like Freddy had a different kind of glove. He had a more robotic glove in a way as well.
Huh.
It's probably one of my highly recommended like nightmare films to watch.
I absolutely loved It Chapter 1.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
actually really good.
It Chapter 2 was...
It chapter 2 felt like a comedy. Like they
It
were
was.
trying to be funny the
Yeah.
whole entire time.
But the first one was so good, dude. I freaking loved it. And, like, I mean, obviously they weren't trying to remake the original movie. This is one of those situations where I get really annoyed by people because it's like, it's not like the original movie. The original movie's based off a book.
Yeah.
Stop comparing. It's like, people did the same thing with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Oh, it's not like Willy Wonka. It's not based on the movie. It's based off a book.
Yeah.
Stop comparing it to the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Just it was such a good modern retake. It is kind of hard to go back and watch the original because it's so 90s cheesy and it's still great.
But
It's
Tim
iconic.
Curry, though.
Yeah.
Tim Curry, you can never really replace.
Yeah, but what's his name did a phenomenal job. His name
Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård. Just doing his own take and all this kind of
And
stuff.
the fact that it's not any practical effects, he literally does that to his face.
Oh yeah, like his weird eye thing. He can
the,
like
the
move his
eye
eye.
and the lip. Yeah.
Yeah.
All that is practical.
It was, oh man, I don't know how many times I've watched that movie and I just absolutely love it. I was so excited when I saw the trailers for this movie and it didn't disappoint. And I was excited to see It Chapter 2 and we saw it in theaters.
I saw it in theaters as well.
Yeah, it just didn't. It wasn't the same.
I mean, it was mainly, I guess, because it just, like I said, it felt more like a comedy, and the whole, like, the scene in the second one with the leper, it was just like, was that really needed? Inside I don't know if you remember that. The leper.
I remember the leper in the first one, but I don't remember.
He was in the,
Oh, where he gets like thrown up on and all kinds of
yeah,
stuff?
he gets his eye stabbed and all that. It's like, okay, this is too much of silliness.
Personally, I think they should have waited 10 years and just had all the original actors come back and do the next movie. That's just my opinion, because that would have been cool. Just make it happen.
I mean, they got good actors that looked like them, though.
Yeah, I think a lot of the kids actually picked like people
Yeah.
they wanted to play them or whatever. But yeah, it just, oh man, I don't know. I'm definitely gonna watch It Chapter 1 again.
Okay, this one is a guilty pleasure film. It's a definitely a guilty pleasure film because it's a terrible film.
Oh, boy.
But it's a sequel of a film too, which I'm just gonna say it. Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
Oh.
I don't know. I love that movie. It's a trip. It's like, oh no, I think that's also the movie that got me to liking goth girls.
Oh.
In that movie.
Well, there we go. Nerd Cittery Confessions.
Yeah, right. But no, it's just I liked it. It's supposed to tie in as like, well, these are fans of the movies who just want to experience something they they don't know if it was real or if it was fake and stuff like that. But they did it all as an actual film this time instead of like all shot handheld.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some scenes that they did that. It was completely different. And I don't know. I enjoy it. I still watch it to this day. It's a terrible film. Yes, I know. But still.
Well, we all know I love some terrible films. So I can't hold that against you. I never did see that one, but I did see the original and...
Did you see the 2016 one?
No.
Actually, it was good. It was different, but it ties more into the video game that came out recently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was another movie that like everybody was talking about. Oh my god, it's the scariest movie I've ever watched, and I remember watching it on Halloween night. I was like, "What?
I mean,
the
that came
fuck
out
am I watching?"
back in '99.
Yeah,
I mean that was when like internet was such a big thing, and that's how a lot of people would get the information was from that.
It was a genius idea. Don't get me wrong, because like they even like set it up because like these actors like couldn't do interviews and all this kind of stuff. Like they weren't really well known.
I mean, if they would have kept on hiding, I mean, that would have made it just better, I think.
Favorite all-time horror movie? Mortal Kombat Annihilation. No. No doubt John Carpenter's The Thing.
Ah, yes.
And it's so funny when I think about the first time I watched this movie was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Mr. Kobeck's class. And I remember because it was so much fun because being in his class senior year and being like a teacher's aide, already have seen the movie and all this kind of stuff. So around Halloween, he always, you had to sign a waiver or your parents had to sign it or whatever that you were allowed to watch this movie. And he always had a camera set up in the back for the one scene with the blood to get the class's reaction. And I remember my senior year sitting back there by his desk waiting and watching all the freshmen. It's like, all right. And dude, every single one of them jumped on that one scene. It was so good. But I mean, we've talked about this movie before, talking about practical effects, and it's just, it holds up still so well to this day. And I love like the atmosphere and like the isolation of being like, where they are and all this kind of stuff. And it's just, I just absolutely love it. And you know what? The prequel that came out a couple of years ago really wasn't that bad.
Was that, what, 2012?
Yeah, well, it may have been a lot longer than I thought. But aside, if they would have done practical effects, I think that movie would have been
better.
Yeah, a lot better because there were parts that really kind of bothered me.
Because there's a lot of tie-ins. Because it's a prequel.
Yeah.
It literally is supposed to go straight from the next movie.
It's just so iconic, and I just absolutely love that movie, and that's one that I look forward to watching again this month. Mm-hmm. So, well, that was our top 5 horror themed movies in quotation marks again.
Yep.
I think next year we should really like strive to find some really bad B movies that we should talk about because there's so many of them.
You mean like Killer Tomatoes Eat France?
Oh my god.
With George Clooney in it?
Yeah. I mean, I already talked about Killer Clowns. That's a good movie though. That's not a B movie. That's a B plus if anything. A minus maybe.
Birdemic.
Well, anyway, thanks again for listening, guys, and yeah, have a happy Halloween and
stay spooky.
Don't perform any crazy rituals like Shane over here might.
Hey,